All right, buckle up, everybody, because today's deep dive is a wild one. We're going to be jumping into some pretty fascinating topics.
Yeah, you guys sent us some interesting stuff this time.
We've got Bitcoin's crazy ride, a company that's trying to change how we buy our favorite snacks and everything. President Biden's thoughts on where America stands in the world. And of course, we can't forget about everyone's favorite, the economy.
I'm excited to unpack all of this. You know, it's amazing how all these things that seem so different are actually all connected when you look a little closer. By the end of this, you'll have all the need-to-know info plus a better sense of how it all fits together and maybe even how it could impact your life.
Right, it's not just about knowing the facts, it's about understanding what they mean.
Exactly. So where should we start? What's got your attention?
Well, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, or should I say the Bitcoin dipping below $90,000. I mean, the crypto world is always a roller coaster, but this dip is making a lot of noise. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely got people talking. It's interesting, though. You see, you've got people like Tom Lee who are still super bullish on Bitcoin. Like, long term, they think it's going to the moon, $200,000, even $250,000 maybe this year.
Wow, that's optimistic.
Right. But then you've got all this uncertainty around stable coins and how the SEC is going to regulate them, and that just throws another wrench in the whole thing.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah.
And speaking of stablecoins, what about Tether packing up and heading to El Salvador? That's a pretty bold move, especially with the EU cracking down on them over in Europe.
Yeah, talk about two completely different approaches. Tether is all about those emerging markets.
That's wild to see how those two worlds are kind of clashing.
Totally. And while we're talking about contrast, have you seen that article about BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF absolutely crushing Grayscale's Bitcoin Trust?
Oh yeah, BlackRock's ETF is killing it. It's outperforming by billions. That interview with Rachel Airy from BlackRock was really eye-opening.
She made a great point about how ETFs are changing the game. They're making it so much easier for everyday investors to get into Bitcoin. And that could lead to Bitcoin being seen as a legitimate part of a diversified portfolio, which is a big deal.
Yeah, a lot of financial advisors have been saying to steer clear of Bitcoin, but maybe that's starting to change. Okay, so ready to switch gears. Let's talk about Keychain.
Oh, this is a cool one.
So Keychain is this company that's making waves in the consumer product market. And I got to say, what they're doing is pretty ingenious.
So basically, they've built this platform that connects brands, retailers, and manufacturers all in one place. And it's making the whole process of launching a new product so much smoother, faster, more transparent. And they're even looking at how to make products healthier.
It's only been around for like 9 months,
Yeah.
but they've already got big names like Hershey's and General Mills on board. And the CEO, Oen Hamran, has this amazing story. Co-founded Handy, led Angie's List, and now this.
He's definitely a serial entrepreneur. But what I think is really impressive is how Keychain is helping businesses deal with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. Like, tariffs are a mess and consumer trends are changing so fast.
It's true. Like everyone wants healthier, more specialized food these days. But Keychain's platform helps companies find new suppliers, adapt to those trends. It's like they're giving businesses a roadmap through all the chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, they're using AI to analyze millions of products and build this huge database.
It's like they're giving companies a secret weapon.
Yeah.
They can use that data to see what's coming next and make smart decisions. I mean, that's powerful stuff.
It really is. It's like having a crystal ball to predict what people will want to buy next. So what do you think? Ready to take a look at the big picture?
Yeah, let's shift gears again. Let's talk about what President Biden had to say about where America stands in the world. He seems pretty confident, saying America is winning on a bunch of different fronts.
He was definitely optimistic, right? He said America is winning the economic, military, and tech races, and that our alliances are stronger than ever, while countries like Russia and Iran are weaker. He even said we're in a better spot with China than we were 4 years ago.
Those are some bold statements.
Right. And he didn't shy away from the tough stuff either. He talked about the war in Ukraine, Afghanistan, the Iran nuclear deal.
It's a lot for the next administration to handle, that's for sure.
You know what really struck me? He really emphasized that the next administration needs to focus on artificial intelligence and clean energy. He sees those as the keys to the future, but they're also areas where there will be tons of challenges.
So from the global stage to what's happening here at home, let's talk about the U.S. economy. On the surface, things seem to be going pretty well, but there's a lot of anxiety, especially on Wall Street. Why is that?
It's like a low-grade fever, right? Things seem fine, but you just don't feel quite right. And that unease comes from a few things happening all at once. First, inflation is being stubborn. It's not slowing down like people thought it would.
Right. Everyone was hoping it would chill out, but it's like it's decided to stay a while.
Exactly. Then you've got the Federal Reserve, and they're not cutting interest rates as aggressively as some folks were hoping.
Makes sense. They're trying to keep inflation under control.
Right. And to top it all off, we've got credit defaults increasing everywhere. People are struggling with credit card debt, companies are dealing with higher borrowing costs, and even the commercial real estate market is getting hit.
That's scary.
Yeah, and Moody's put it really well. They talked about how the rich are doing fine, but everyone else, especially that bottom third, is really feeling the squeeze. Savings are gone and debt keeps piling up. And then there are those rising treasury yields. They're pushing up mortgage rates, car loans, everything. It's getting so expensive for people and businesses to borrow money.
Right, it's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
The government has to offer higher yields to attract investors, but that ends up costing everyone more in the long run.
Exactly, and that's why all this together is making people nervous. You've got a volatile economy, concerns about defaults, a new administration with its own plans. It's a lot.
So with all this going on, how can businesses thrive? I mean, is it even possible to survive?
You know, that's where a company like Keychain could be a real game changer. Remember, they're not just connecting brands and manufacturers, they're giving businesses the tools to adapt to all this change.
Yeah, like navigating tariffs, understanding consumer trends.
Right. It's like they're throwing a lifeline to businesses in this crazy storm. Keychain helps them stay ahead of the curve, be more agile, make better decisions based on real-time data.
It's like they're giving businesses a superpower, the power to be resilient.
Exactly, because the faster the world changes, the more we all need to be able to adapt. And that's true for individuals, too, not just businesses. This deep dive is giving you a peek behind the curtain, showing you what's happening, but now it's up to you to use this information. What will you do with it?
I like that. You're giving us the tools, but we have to build something with them.
Exactly. Whether it's thinking differently about your investments, your career, even how you shop for groceries, this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
It really has. It's amazing how all these threads, cryptocurrency, consumer products, geopolitics, the economy, it's all connected.
It is. It's like this complex tapestry, and once you see how the threads are woven together, you can really understand what's going on in the world.
And maybe even make better decisions in your own life, right? Speaking of connecting the dots, let's go back to that cryptocurrency world for a second. It's wild how crypto used to feel like its own separate thing, and now it's becoming more and more connected to the traditional financial system.
Oh, absolutely. You've got BlackRock, one of the biggest names in finance, launching a Bitcoin ETF. That's a huge sign that things are changing.
And Tether moving to El Salvador. That just shows how crypto is taking off in emerging markets, and it's giving people new options besides the traditional banks.
But then on the flip side, you've got the EU clamping down on stablecoins, trying to figure out how to regulate all of this. It's this constant push and pull between innovation and regulation.
It's like a high-stakes game, and everyone's still figuring out the rules as they go along.
And the stakes are high. This could change the entire financial system as we know it. Will the new administration be open to the innovation of crypto or try to control it? Who knows what the future holds?
One thing's for sure, the world of finance is evolving, and crypto is a part of it, whether we like it or not.
It's happening right now, and the choices being made today are going to shape how we all interact with money and value in the future.
Okay, let's zoom back out to the global stage for a minute. President Biden's pretty confident that America is in a strong position, especially when it comes to China.
Yeah, but it's a claim worth looking into. While the U.S. has made progress, you can't deny that China is a powerhouse with its own big goals.
It's like a chess match where the stakes are incredibly high.
And it's not just about one side winning. There's room for the U.S. and China to work together on things like climate change. But we also have to be smart about where we compete and have a plan for dealing with those challenges.
It's a delicate balance, cooperation and competition at the same time. You have to know when to push and when to pull back, and you always have to be ready to adjust to whatever happens next.
And this isn't a quick game. This is something that's going to play out over decades.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Which brings us back to President Biden's call to action, AI and clean energy.
And those two are so intertwined. AI could completely revolutionize clean energy, but it also raises all sorts of ethical questions.
Like what happens to people's jobs if AI takes over? And how do we make sure AI is used for good and not for harm?
It's a double-edged sword. Amazing opportunities, but we have to be careful about how we develop and regulate AI.
And it's not just an American issue. It's a global race for AI dominance. If the U.S. falls behind, it could impact our economy, our security, our place in the world.
It's a lot for the next administration to think about, but it also shows how important this moment is. The decisions made today will affect the world for generations.
And that's why this deep dive is so fascinating. We're not just learning about stuff, we're grappling with the ideas that will shape the future.
We're trying to understand what's happening, see things from different perspectives, and figure out what choices we have, not just as individuals, but as a country and as a global community.
We're recognizing that everything is connected, even things that seem totally different, like Bitcoin and the U.S. economy.
And we're giving ourselves the knowledge to navigate this crazy world and make smart choices for our own future.
It's about being curious, asking questions, and never losing sight of the big picture. But speaking of the big picture, let's zoom in on something closer to home for a minute. Keychain. Remember them?
Yeah, the company's shaking up the consumer world.
They're really trying to change how we experience the products we buy every day.
And they just might succeed. Think about it. Faster product development, more niche products, maybe even a whole new level of personalized shopping.
Hold on, walk me through that. I get that they can help companies adapt faster, but what does that actually mean for me at the grocery store? Will everything look different in 5 years?
Well, imagine a world where new products are constantly hitting the shelves and they're tailored to your specific dietary needs and preferences. It could be a whole new level of personalization that we've never seen before.
So instead of just choosing between the same old brands, I might have a whole new world of customized options.
Exactly. Or think about supply chain problems. Remember when we couldn't find anything on the shelves during the pandemic? Well, if Keychain can help companies quickly find new sources for their ingredients, then maybe we'll see fewer shortages and price hikes.
So it's not just about businesses being more efficient, it's about changing how we experience the entire marketplace.
Exactly. It all comes back to change, right? The faster the world changes, the more we all need to be able to adapt. This deep dive has given you a glimpse into some of the most important changes happening right now. But now it's up to you. What will you do with this knowledge?
I love that. You've given us this amazing toolbox. Now it's our turn to build something with it. Whether we refine our investment strategy, take a fresh look at our career path, or even just pay more attention to what we buy at the store.
Couldn't agree more. Stay informed, stay curious, and stay adaptable. Those are the things that will help you not just survive, but thrive in this crazy, always changing world.
Thanks for that amazing perspective. And there you have it, listeners. We've journeyed from the wild world of crypto to the exciting future of consumer products, looked at the global stage, and landed right back here at home, taking a good look at the U.S. economy.
We've seen how fast things can change. Bitcoin prices, interest rates, global alliances, even what people want to buy. The key takeaway: stay informed, stay curious, and be prepared to adapt.
The world is full of amazing things to discover. Until next time, happy diving.
It really is incredible how Keychain is positioned to help businesses, especially now.
Yeah, okay, I see that. But let's bring it back down to earth for a sec.
Huh?
What does all this actually mean for, the average person?
Right, good point. It's easy to get lost in the big picture. So think about it this way. If Keychain is successful, like really successful, the whole consumer landscape could change.
Okay, but how? Give me an example.
All right, so imagine walking into a grocery store in 5 years, and instead of the same old brands and products, there are tons of new options specifically tailored to what people want, like really specific dietary needs or preferences we haven't even thought of yet.
Okay, so instead of just choosing between, I don't know, regular potato chips and barbecue, I might have like a whole aisle of chips customized to, like, I don't know, my gluten-free, low-sodium, spicy but not too spicy needs.
Yeah, exactly. That level of personalization could become the norm. And think about supply chain disruptions too. Like, remember during the pandemic when you couldn't find anything? Well, if Keychain helps companies find new suppliers quickly, we might not see those empty shelves and crazy price hikes again.
Wow, okay, that makes sense. It's not just about making businesses better, it's about changing how we all experience buying stuff.
Right. And it all circles back to change, doesn't it? The world's changing faster and faster, so we all need to be able to adapt. This deep dive has given you a glimpse into some of the biggest changes happening right now. But here's the thing. What will you do with this information?
It's like you've handed us this toolbox full of incredible tools, but now we have to go build something with them.
Exactly. Whether it's changing how you think about your investments or your career or even just how you shop for food, this deep dive should spark some new ideas.
It really has. It's incredible how everything we've talked about, cryptocurrency, consumer products, what's happening in the world, and the economy, It's all woven together.
It is. It's this crazy tapestry, and once you see how all the pieces fit together, you start to understand the world in a whole new way.
And that helps us make better decisions, right? For ourselves and for the future. Oh, speaking of connecting the dots, let's go back to crypto for a minute.
Hmm.
Remember how it used to feel like its own little world? Now it's becoming more and more connected to the regular financial system.
Totally. I mean, come on, BlackRock launching a Bitcoin ETF, that's huge.
And Tether moving to El Salvador,
Mhm.
a country that uses Bitcoin as money. That shows you how crypto is taking off in other parts of the world, and it's giving people more options, beyond the traditional banking system.
For sure. But then you also have the EU trying to regulate stablecoins, so governments are definitely trying to figure out what to do with all of this.
It's like this crazy dance between innovation and regulation. Nobody knows who's going to lead.
And the stakes are high. This could completely change everything about how the financial system works. I wonder, will the new administration embrace crypto and its potential, or will they try to control it?
Well, one thing's for sure, the financial world is changing, and crypto is a part of that change, whether we like it or not.
And it's happening right now. The decisions being made today will impact how we all think about money and value in the future.
Okay, so let's zoom out again back to the global scene. President Biden seems pretty sure that America's in a good spot, especially when it comes to China.
Yeah, but we have to look at that claim carefully. The U.S. has definitely made progress, but don't underestimate China. They have their own ambitions, and they're playing the long game.
It's like a really intense chess match, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
And remember, it's not always about one side winning or losing. The U.S. and China can cooperate on some things, like climate change. It's important to find common ground. But there are also areas where we'll be competing, and we need to be smart about how we approach those challenges.
It's about finding that balance, right?
Yeah.
Knowing when to work together and when to stand firm, and always being ready to adapt because things change so quickly.
This isn't a sprint, it's a marathon.
Exactly. Which brings us back to what President Biden said about AI and clean energy.
Right. And they're so connected, those two. AI could completely revolutionize the clean energy industry, but it also brings up a whole bunch of ethical questions.
Like, what happens to jobs when AI starts doing things that humans used to do? And how do we make sure that AI is used for good and not to harm anyone?
It's a double-edged sword, for sure. Huge potential, but also potential risks. We have to be careful about how we develop AI and how we make sure it's used responsibly.
And it's not just a problem for the U.S. to solve. It's a global race to develop AI. And if America falls behind, it could have serious consequences for our economy, our national security, and our position in the world.
There's a lot for the next administration to think about, that's for sure. But it also shows just how important these decisions are. They will shape the world for years to come.
And that's why this deep dive is so important. It's not just about learning facts. It's about understanding these big ideas that will shape the future.
Exactly. It's about trying to make sense of what's happening, understanding different perspectives, and thinking about the choices we have, not just as individuals, but as a country and as a global community.
It's about recognizing how everything's connected, even things that seem totally different, like Bitcoin and the state of the U.S. economy.
And it's about giving ourselves the knowledge to navigate this complex world so we can make informed choices that create a better future for everyone.
It's about being curious, always asking questions, and never losing sight of the bigger picture. But speaking of the bigger picture, let's bring it back down to earth for a moment. Remember Keychain?
They really could change how we think about shopping and products. It's pretty exciting to think about.
Yeah, it is. But help me out here. We've talked about how Keychain helps companies, become more adaptable, get products to market faster. But what does that actually mean for me? Like, will my grocery shopping experience be totally different 5 years from now?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think it's definitely possible. Imagine a world where there are always new products hitting the shelves, and they're designed for very specific needs and preferences. It could be a level of personalization we've never seen before.
So instead of choosing between the same old brands, I might have a whole new world of options that are customized just for me.
Exactly. Or think about all those empty shelves we saw during the pandemic. If Keychain can help companies find new sources for their ingredients more quickly, we might not see as many shortages or price hikes.
So Keychain isn't just about businesses being more efficient. It's about changing how we experience the marketplace as consumers. That's pretty amazing.
It really is. And it all comes back to this idea of change. The faster the world changes, the more adaptable we all need to be. This deep dive has given you a glimpse into some of the biggest forces shaping our world, but now it's up to you. What will you do with this information?
It's like you've given us this amazing toolbox full of all the right tools, but now we have to go out and build something with them.
Exactly. Whether you rethink your investments, your career, or even just how you shop, this deep dive should give you some new ideas and perspectives.
It definitely has. It's mind-blowing how everything we've talked about, from cryptocurrency to what's happening on the global stage and here in the U.S. economy, how it's all connected.
It's a complex web, but once you see how the threads are woven together, you can really start to understand the forces shaping the world around us and hopefully make better decisions for yourself and for the future.
That's what it's all about, right? Empowering ourselves with knowledge and understanding. Well, folks, there you have it. We've explored the wild world of crypto, the future of consumer products, the complexities of the global landscape, and landed back here in the U.S., taking a closer look at our own economy.
We've seen how quickly things can change, from Bitcoin prices to interest rates, geopolitical alliances, even consumer trends. The key takeaway here is stay informed, stay curious, and be prepared to adapt.
Because in a world that's constantly changing, those are the qualities that will help us thrive. The world's full of amazing things to discover, and we can't wait to dive into them with you again next time. Until then, happy diving, everyone.